Good morning, everybody, and also good morning to everyone who's joining us online through our live stream. I'm Laura Dyer, Deputy Chief Executive for Places and Engagement at Arts Council England, and I'm very pleased to welcome you here today to Curve, Leicester. It's my base, the Midlands, and also Leicestershire is my home county. So it felt particularly fitting this morning that as I got up, I didn't have to dash to catch my train to London, as I have done for every other MPO announcement, but instead, given the content of our announcement today, I was able just to drive through the beautiful rural countryside of Leicestershire to here. Today, we're announcing our national portfolio for 2018 to 2022. We've been letting organisations know their decisions from this morning, and we're here to talk about what the national picture looks like. Arts Council England's chair, Nick Sirota, and our Chief Executive, Darren Henley, will be explaining in more detail what that looks like, and later they'll be joined by our Executive Director of Public Policy and Communication, Mags Patton, who will be chairing our Q&A. We're also really pleased to welcome Chris Stafford, the Chief Executive of Curve Leicester, and Akash Adedra from Akash Adedra Company, who'll be saying a few words about how public funding will benefit their organisations, their practice and their communities. You won't be surprised to hear me say that we haven't scheduled a fire alarm practice for the press conference. So if the alarms do sound, can I ask that you follow the ushers from Curve Leicester, who will direct you to a place of safety. Before I welcome Nick onto the stage, we'd like to show you this short video, which explains what we're doing and why.
So, Laura, thank you. I'm Nick Sirota, Chair of Arts Council England, and I always remember meeting Laura first when she was Director for Arts Council in the East Midlands, so I think of this as being very much her patch. But I also want to mention that I'm very pleased that we're joined today by Peter Phillips, Area Chair for the Midlands, also a member of the National Council of the Arts Council, and of course Peter Knott, who is the Regional Director for the Midlands. And I do want to thank, as Laura has done, Chris Stafford, Chief Executive of The Curve, and Nikolai Foster, Artistic Director, for welcoming us here to this great theatre and centre for the arts in Leicester today. I'm really pleased that we've come to Leicester to make this announcement. This is a city in which public investment in art and culture and in the public realm is making a very real and very visible difference to the lives of people in this city. Today, we're announcing the largest ever investment in the Arts Council's national portfolio, which is the collection of arts and cultural organisations that is the mainstay of the work that we do. These are the organisations that get regular annual funding so that they can all be leaders in their field, pushing the bar higher and showing what artistic ambition means. And they are the standard bearers for the Arts Council's aspiration in relation to art and culture in this country. Between 2018 and 2022, we will invest a total of £1.6 billion in 831 organisations across England. This is an uplift of £170 million, or £42.5 million a year, compared with the previous period where we funded 698 organisations. That in itself is a massive vote of confidence in the arts and cultural sector. And it's a declaration of how important we believe the arts to be at this particular moment in our nation's history. This national portfolio is going to reach more people in more places, giving them the chance to have the life-changing experiences and opportunities that the arts bring. It also delivers on three key promises. The first was to shift the focus of our investment and do more outside London. Not because London in a way deserves any less, but because many parts of the country deserve, and indeed I would argue need, more. So between 2018 and 2022, we will be spending, as I've said, an additional £42.5 million outside each year outside the capital. But we've also managed to give standstill funding to the organisations in London and indeed add a small number of smaller organisations, many of them not in the centre but in the outer boroughs of London, to the portfolio. And it is vital that London continues to thrive. The second promise was to broaden the portfolio to reach new places and new kinds of organisations. And the portfolio will now reach across many places and communities that previously have received relatively little funding from the Arts Council. Leicester, Torbay, Plymouth, Barking and Dagenham, Coventry, Tees Valley will all see significant increases in investment. And for the first time, we're funding museums, or bringing museums and libraries into the portfolio. So we're funding museums from Truro to Carlisle, from Northumberland to Dorset. We're bringing libraries into the national portfolio for the first time, with 7 library organisations supporting their work as growing cultural centres in their communities. We can't fund the whole library system. That's a statutory responsibility of local government. But what we can do is use the arts funding to ensure that libraries that are reaching out into the community with arts programmes can deliver and indeed develop those. Thirdly, in our promises, we said we would reach more diverse and more diverse-led organisations. So we are now taking on many new small and medium-sized organisations, including Akash Adedra, here in Leicester and several other organisations in Leicester. And we're also increasing funding for organisations like New Art Exchange in Nottingham. This is a groundbreaking national portfolio. It has a range of sizes, locations, and disciplines. It's going to energise the whole cultural sector, and I believe it's going to produce formidable partnerships and fantastic combined arts work. But it's also going to disrupt, it's going to challenge. Above all, it's going to change people's lives. I've given you some of the headlines, and now I would like to invite Darren Henley, Chief Executive of Arts Council England, to give you the full story. Darren.
Thank you, Nick, and I'd like to begin by echoing Nick's words about how great it is to be here in Leicester, a city where the benefits of sustained investment in art and culture are apparent for all to see. What we're launching today is the culmination of 18 months' work. The national portfolio is our major investment. We wanted to make sure it serves the public and the arts and cultural sector, reflecting their ambitions and expectations. So we began this process with a broad consultation. That threw up some themes: more investment outside London, longer funding agreements, helping new and smaller organisations join the portfolio, and the need to do more to make sure this portfolio represents the diversity of our nation. Ahead of the beginning of this funding round, we also determined that we would shift our funding outside the capital. Today, we've achieved a shift of 4.6%, meaning that for the first time, more than 60% of our national portfolio investment is spent outside London. We also said that we would protect the overall cultural ecology of London by asking our 4 largest organisations to apply a 3% reduction so that we could bring in smaller, more diverse organisations. We've addressed those challenges. We have a national portfolio of 831 organisations with 183 joiners, with an overall budget per year of £409 million across National Lottery and Grant in Aid. We've maintained our investment at the same level in 531 of the organisations in the portfolio. 12 organisations have seen a decrease, and 98 have an increase. These increases were given in exceptional circumstances for organisations that show particular promise in some aspect of practice, are creating and developing genuinely additional work, or are increasing their resilience. So how did we reach our decisions? It was a rigorous process. First, we assessed applications based on their merits and ability to contribute to the 5 goals of our 10-year strategy. To remind you, those 5 goals are promoting talent and excellence, widening access, strengthening the sector's workforce and its resilience, and ensuring that children and young people are at the heart of what we do. Then we looked to balance the portfolio by size of organisation, art form, diversity, and geography. We wanted a portfolio that was representative of and relevant to contemporary society. We have an obligation to champion inclusivity, tolerance, and progressive values, and to ensure that opportunity extends across all barriers, including socioeconomic ones. Everyone should be an insider. Diversity is our national asset. It's a collective strength. From that diversity will emerge the energy, enterprise, and creative innovation that our arts sector and our world needs. All our national portfolio organisations have to sign up to the Creative Case for Diversity, which puts diversity at the centre of their work. They've all been rated on their plans, and we'll be working closely with them to ensure that they can step up and deliver. There are some exciting additions to the portfolio, with joiners including Bamboozle, Bradford Literature Festival, Disability Arts Online, Diverse City, Akashodedra Company, Together 2012, and Yellow Earth. One point to note, following our consultation, we introduced a definition of diverse-led organisations to include LGBT and female-led, and also added a self-definition category, which reflected the fact that organisations often identify themselves as diverse-led according to who is making key strategic decisions. We've been using these definitions since last year, but in the interests of consistency, we've also monitored the portfolio using our previous definition. It's been really encouraging to see the success of our Elevate programme, which has supported diverse-led organisations outside the portfolio to become ready to apply for entry. Out of 40 successful applicants to Elevate, 20 are now being offered membership of the portfolio. There are still numerous challenges, not least the need to ensure that the data we ask for gives us a clearer picture. But we're making progress, and this portfolio is another step in the right direction. The spread of this portfolio means there are exciting additions in areas where there's not been a national portfolio member before, or where investment has historically been lower. Places such as Bradford, St Helens, Stoke-on-Trent, Sunderland, Plymouth, and Reading. Our investment in Hull will of course build on the legacy of City of Culture 2017. The geographic spread of our museums is complemented by some eclectic and engrossing subject matter, from dinosaurs to tanks, horse racing to LGBT history, from the pre-Raphaelites to insect collections. Museums really do have something for everyone. The portfolio is underpinned by a range of sector support organisations, which will help the sector to develop through essential services, expertise and connections. 7 libraries with strong arts programming enter the portfolio, representing every Arts Council area. Now, libraries have the widest demographic among their users, and their collaboration with other cultural organisations will help reach people who wouldn't otherwise get the chance to enjoy the arts. Museums and libraries will also bring in a wide range of practice and experience to share, and a willingness to form new kinds of cultural partnerships. The new banding system, which is an integral part of how this portfolio has been shaped, will place less of an administrative burden on organisations receiving the least money. But it'll ask for more public engagement, more talent development, and a wider impact from those receiving the highest levels of public investment. The Arts Council is the national development and investment agency for the arts, museums, and libraries. This is a new national portfolio that works together to support our strategic vision, to invest in the best of art and culture so that more people can have access to it. But it also looks to the future of our sector. We judge that this is the right time to make an important commitment to the development of an energetic, colourful and inclusive arts and cultural sector that speaks with people and for people across all of England. Now I want to hand you over to Curve's Chris Stafford and to Akesh Adedra, who will tell you a bit about what Arts Council funding means to them and their organisations.
Thank you, Darren, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to Curve. I'm delighted today's announcement is being made from here in Leicester, in the heart of the East Midlands, a region that has received over £36 million of Arts Council England NPO investment in the current funding round. Whilst, of course, Leicester may be more widely recognised of late as being a city that can boast sporting successes and Richard III, we're also a city with a rich, ambitious and vibrant arts and culture provision. An offering that I believe offers everyone who lives, works and learns in our city with world-class artistic experiences. Indeed, here in Leicester's Cultural Quarter, we're home to 7 national portfolio organisations. From the Spark Arts, who curate the internationally recognised Spark Festival for Children, and the Mighty Creatives, our bridge organisation, through to the Phoenix Cinema, our very own independent cinema, and Leicester Print Workshop, which is one of the largest open access studios in the UK. And of course, there is Curve. It's also terrific news today that there are a further 8 organisations from across Leicestershire joining the portfolio from next year. Leicester, I believe, truly represents 21st century Great Britain. Almost 50% of our population are made up from people from BME backgrounds. Indeed, we're home to the most ethnically diverse street in England. Narborough Road, which is just around the corner, boasts at least 23 nationalities across just 1 mile. And so it feels fitting that an announcement that will shape the artistic landscape and will bring communities together through great art and culture is made from this great city. Of course, today is an important and rather anxious day for arts leaders and arts organisations up and down the country. And whilst we all know we need to continue to find ways to become more sustainable and develop new income streams, organisations like Curve simply could not achieve the breadth, reach or impact without the support from Arts Council England. In this current NPO round at Curve, we've been able to significantly increase our artistic output by 30%. There are now almost 650 performances on any one of our 3 stages a year, selling an extra 60,000 tickets a year. We've also been able to develop our work on tour, work that's originated from our theatre, taken on the road nationally and internationally, flying the flag for Leicester and Curve. In the last year, we sold over 630,000 tickets for a Made at Curve production on tour in over 7 countries, which is 53 cities. We've also been able to invest more in our learning provision and talent development programmes, engaging almost 200 more schools a year with our work, and last year over 300 artists took part in one of our many artist development initiatives. From Akram Khan, Ishi Din, Akash Adedra and Bamboozle through to our cohort of breakthrough artist companies including Impulse Collective, Jess Green and 2 Magpies Theatre. None of this would have been possible without the National Portfolio support. And I'm glad I can say this next bit. And so looking to the future, I'm thrilled we've secured continued NPO funding, which will enable us to continue to deliver an ambitious programme of work over the next 4 years. A programme that will engage even more artists and participants from across our city and beyond. A programme that will have national and international impact through our planned touring programmes. And a programme that will enable us to continue to play a key role in championing and developing the work of BME artists and BME-led companies. And finally, a programme that will provide even more people with access to great art and culture. Thank you, Arts Council England. I'd now like to hand over to Akash Adedra from Akash Adedra Company.
It is an incredibly positive feeling to learn the news that our NPO application has been successful. Arts has all the power to help people, to change people, to make people feel, to believe. We have received support from the Arts Council England to make art which tries to do this. Whether it has been a story about dyslexia through Murmur, or commenting on relationships with your community as a migrant in I Imagine. I have been privileged to work with some of the best choreographers in the world, like Akram Khan, Sidi Labi Shakawi, Russell Malafant, Aditi Mangaldas, Damien Gillette, and also perform at some of the most prestigious festivals and venues across England and around the world. This new support will enable me from being the whole company to having a company of dancers to tour England, uncovering and telling stories, telling your stories, my story, their story, everyone's story. It will also enable us to make a bigger difference here at home in Leicester and in the Midlands. We will be ambitious to show you can be world-class, be based and make in the regions of England. It will enable us to take greater artistic risks, work with great collaborators and hopefully bring some of those to Leicester to show that we are a welcoming society and open, despite all the uncertainties around us. Publicly funded art is a great measure of a free and progressive society. As an artist and as a company, we take our responsibilities very seriously to ensure that our art is accessible and remains relevant. With so much mud being thrown around every day, art can really take the lead. Art has an opportunity to bind people together. I'd like to thank the Arts Council, the Curve Theatre, my home theatre, my board, my team, my gurus, my family, and my community for all the people who have given us a leg up in this journey so far. And I hope that we can continue to work with each other to make a bigger positive change still. I cannot promise to change the face of the world, but I can promise to ignite and light a few flames of passion. I cannot promise that I'll walk all the way around the world and be back in this lifetime, but I can promise to tread on the path that has been laid down for me by my peers, by my gurus, two incredible women, Nilima Devi, Chitralekha Bola, who have enforced and made the foundation of my life. I cannot promise that I'm going to create or construct the Eiffel Tower in Leicester, but I can promise to pick up those slates, those rocks, those stones, pieces of sand, and create a bridge that the next generation can walk across and make their own path and bridges. From the heart of England, Leicester, and from my heart, I thank you all.
Thank you, Akash, for lighting fires. Hello, I'm Mags Patton. I'm Director of Public Policy and Communication at Arts Council England. I'm now pleased to open the floor to my journalist colleagues here today. We've got about 15 minutes for questions, although there's also an opportunity to speak to Nick and Darren afterwards. And I should also say that I have colleagues here from Arts Council England, from our executive board in the front row, and we'll be able to help answer any more technical questions. We've got a couple of roving mics, and I would ask that you use them because we are live streaming and people won't be able to hear your questions if you don't. And for a similar reason also, could I ask, well, actually partly because I can't really see you very well, but also partly for our listeners and watchers, if you could say your name and publication. So I'll open it to you.
Hi, Mark Brown from The Guardian. I guess there will be lots of organisations and people who welcome this regional shift, but there will be a lot of people who think it doesn't go far enough. They'll be frustrated that it's not a big enough step. Do you share those frustrations in any way? Would you like to have made more of a shift?
I think it's a journey of travel. I think we want to ensure that we are creating centres of artistic and creative excellence all around the country. And that's about building places where we're investing in infrastructure, but also where we're investing in individual artists. There's some great examples around the country where we're seeing that happen. Margate, for example, around Turner Contemporary, where we're seeing a capital investment there which has now resulted in a huge range of individual practitioners coming into that place and actually changing it. We're starting to see it in Hull, which I'm very, very proud of, what we're seeing with City of Culture, a place which has absolutely been redefined by long-term strategic arts and culture investment. So we will continue to do this. I think it's a journey we're going on. We by no means are claiming to be at the end right now, but I think it's very, very important that we make sure that when we do invest public money, we're investing in investable propositions, and that's very important too. So we're working as a national development agency to do that.
David Sanderson from The Times. You have taken a lot of funding away from what many would regard as the crown jewels of the British culture sector, i.e. Royal Opera House, National Theatre and Royal Shakespeare Company and South Bank Centre. Do you fear that you are actually going to diminish these organisations irreparably over the next 4 years?
I think it's very, very important that we say thank you to those organisations, actually, because I think one of the big things about being custodians of large amounts or recipients of large amounts of public money is that you have a responsibility to spend that wisely. In the conversations we've had with them, they've understood that we actually want to build an arts and cultural infrastructure. They're at the heart of that, and they're doing great work. And they're also organisations based primarily in London and with larger organisations that are more easily able to diversify their income streams. And one of the things that we need to do as an Arts Council is to make all of our organisations, not just recipients of public money, but also organisations that can diversify those income streams and grow different revenue models. And we're working on that over the next few years with all of the organisations across the portfolio.
If I could just add, can I just add a point to that, really, from my experience as being director of Tate? Probably another crown jewel, you might describe it as being. I mean, frankly, the Tate became ever stronger when we developed the Plus Tate network of organisations across the country. We learned from those organisations, they became part of the ecology, we were able to assist them. And I think it's a similar process that we're engaged with here, with the national organisations based in London, plus, of course, Stratford, recognising that they can only really flourish if the whole ecology flourishes. They really do depend on talent coming through from a whole range of organisations to feed those great national, what you describe as crown jewels.
Hello, Simon Tate, Arts Industry. I'd like to ask two questions, if I may. One is about your regional policy. Your increase for regions, is that how much is that forced by the criticism that you had about your London-centric approach before, and how much to addressing the shortfall in local authority arts funding? And the other one is quite different. I noticed you probably deliberately didn't mention the word Brexit at all today. How much is that a concern of yours now, and what are you doing about it?
Well, shall I answer the first question and maybe let Nick answer the second? I think one of the things I would say, I've been at the Arts Council for two and a half years now, and I passionately believe in arts and culture around this country. I got on a train, anything you need to know about standard pre-booked advanced rail tickets around this country, anything you need to know about any of the hotel chain that Lenny Henry advertises, I'm your man around this country. I went to 157 different villages, towns and cities in my first 18 months here, and I saw and I listened, and this is a portfolio that is a result of that. We believe passionately in arts and culture in all of our towns and cities around this country, and villages as well. It's not just about urban investment, it's about rural investment. It's really, really important. People pay their taxes and they play their national lottery. They deserve the best.
I mean, I'd just add, Simon, that this is a response to activity and excellence well beyond London. And it's not as a result of pressure. It comes about because the Arts Council has been making small-scale investments in a number of organisations across the country over the last 4 or 5 years, and you could say those organisations have now grown to a point where they both need and certainly deserve regular annual funding. So I think it's a pull factor rather than a push factor. What would you like to know about Brexit?
Are you concerned about it now, as everybody else is? You don't mention Brexit. Are you concerned about it now, as everybody else is? And if you are, how are you approaching it?
Well, I think there are very obvious concerns within the arts world and the performing world in relation to the movement of people with talent, people who run organisations. Again, you look across the organisations, both in London and outside, and increasingly they've had EU nationals working for them, and that has to be a matter of concern for us, just like the health service. And I would say those organisations have benefited enormously from that cross-fertilisation. So obviously we will be making representations to government about hoping that we can ensure that that movement continues in one form or another. As we've just heard, organisations like The Curve are doing an enormous amount of international touring. And we will want to see that work continue and develop. And indeed, it's one of the great things that we are able to share with the rest of the world. We will be doing more work in Europe, I hope. I think those companies will be doing more work in America. And I hope that over a period of time, that excellence for which we're renowned, both in London and certain other places, will spread across the country, and people will be inviting really quite small companies to make international tours, as well as the big major companies.
Christy, take a question.
Hi, Christy Roma, arts professional. So I've seen 150 organisations funded through the lottery. Given that Camelot released its figures recently showing that lottery funding has plummeted, are you convinced that's a sustainable source of funding?
So it's actually a relatively small proportion of organisations who are funded. We do know that lottery revenue does go up and down, and it does change from year to year. We will work to ensure the resilience of the organisations. We're confident in our forecasting for this portfolio, and we will continue to work with the National Lottery and the National Lottery family, with DCMS and with Camelot, to ensure that the value of National Lottery is understood right across the country. And there is a huge amount every time someone buys a National Lottery ticket or plays a National Lottery game that does for the culture of this country, and that's something that's very valuable. We will make sure that message gets across to people as well.
I mean, if I can just add, lottery income fluctuates. It's gone down recently. A couple of years ago it was going up. Obviously we will take a real interest in Camelot's performance as an organisation creating that income. But if you look at the national portfolio, we're spending about 70 million of lottery money in the national portfolio, compared with overall lottery income of more than 200 million. So, of course, we're concerned about falling revenues in the National Lottery, but it only represents a proportion of our income. And the national portfolio is, as we've said today, the mainstay of our work with arts organisations across the country. And so 70 out of over 200 million gives us some scope. I'm certainly not content that we should see falling lottery revenue, but I think you need to get a sense of proportion. We should be able to maintain the funding to those organisations in future.
Hi, Anita Singh from The Telegraph. You're putting diversity right at the forefront of this. I just wonder how you measure that. Is that in terms of, is it numbers in the workforce or in the audience? And does it mean that organisations will essentially be marked down or be less likely to get into the portfolio if they have a very white workforce or very low numbers of disabled people?
So diversity is absolutely, as you'll rightly say, Anita, central to what we do. And all of the organisations, what we'll go through a process is signing a funding agreement with each of the organisations that we've now made an offer to today over the next few months, so this funding will start from April next year. All of them will have to be graded as having meeting the criteria of the creative case for diversity that we set out. So yes, it is important. We will be on a journey with them. They will need to have a plan in place to ensure that they can make that happen. But we want to make sure that we're investing in art and culture in terms of organisations, the people that are making it, the gatekeepers who are making decisions, and the people in audiences who are going to see art and culture, who are representative of the way England looks and feels in the 21st century. And actually sitting just next to you is Abid Hussain, who's our Director of Diversity, who leads on this. And, you know, we've done a lot to put this at the heart of our thinking. And I'm very proud of the steps we've made. We've got some very, very good, new, young, diverse organisations coming into the portfolio. We can do better, though. And we want to do better. We are not there, and we will make sure that over the coming years we challenge the sector to make sure that they are creating relevant work and that actually their workforce is also relevant as well. And that's really, really important to us.
Got a couple of minutes if anyone wants to ask a David or thing.
Hi. The Arnolfini Gallery has lost 750,000. This must be, given that it's one of the leading centres for contemporary art, this must be quite a harsh blow for yourself, Sir Nick.
So, visual arts plays an important role for us, and visual arts in Bristol is also very, very important. Bless you.
That's it.
Live stream to the world.
Visual arts in Bristol is also very important to us, and Arnolfini has contributed that over the years enormously. Our assessment right now is that it's not a financially viable organisation with its current business model. So although we're drawing money from Arnolfini, we are ring-fencing that money within Bristol, and we are ring-fencing that money for the visual arts in Bristol. And we will work with the leaders, artistic leaders in Bristol, with visual artists and with the local leaders in Bristol to ensure that we invest in some really good, really strong visual arts in a way that is sustainable over a long period of time. And Arnolfini may well prove to be an important part of that solution going forward. But we will have conversations and we will work with them on the ground to make that happen.
Arnolfini, I knew the founder of Arnolfini. Arnolfini opened in 1961, and it's one of the great visual arts organisations in this country. But nothing stands still, and since Arnolfini was created, there are a whole range of other arts organisations in Bristol engaged in contemporary visual art, from Spike Island to the museums and so on. As Darren has said, we're ring-fencing that money. We want to work with Arnolfini, with Situations, with the other visual arts organisations in Bristol to ensure that actually Bristol, as a great city with a long tradition in the visual arts, can move forward into the 21st century with an offer that is, with a programme that is comparable with any city in the country.
We've got time for one more. If anyone has a final question. Okay, Anita will know. We can make this the last one.
Just about ENO, how have they managed to turn it around and be allowed back in?
So we've made an investment of £12.38 million a year into ENO, and for that we expect to receive excellent public value. ENO over the last few years has faced a lot of challenges, and we believe that the organisation has made considerable strides forward over that time. They've put in a new application this time, which has an ambitious creative programme, but also, very importantly, it has what we believe is a sustainable and strong business model. Like all of the organisations in the portfolio, we will continue to work with them and to monitor them and to help them as much as we can, but we feel that the management team and the leadership at ENO have taken it to a different place, a better place than it was when we last made the decisions about the portfolio. So we're confident that it can play an important role as an organisation in London and as an organisation in the opera world as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to draw the open Q&A to a close, but as I've said, you are all welcome to speak to Nick and Darren afterwards. And if you please go to Eleanor Hutchin, our head of media here, she and her team will help coordinate that for you. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Curve for having us here today. It's bad enough having to go through an investment process without having to host the Arts Council as well, so thank you. And to our speakers, Chris Stafford and Akash Adedra, and to everyone who's come here today and joined us on our live stream. And for those that are physically here, there's some refreshments now in the mezzanine. Thank you.